How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and we are here to review Week 5 of the NFL season in a nutshell. So we're going to try to go through all these games briefly. Some games are going to take longer to explain, like the Packer game, for example, because I'm a Green Bay fan, and I actually watched every single snap of that game, so I'll be able to tell you like what went down and all that. Whereas for other games, yes, I went back and watched them. I watched the film. I watched as much as I possibly could. I'm not a highlight reel type of dude. So, you know, I probably won't be able to tell you as much about every single game, but I try to watch as much as every game as I possibly can. So that I can promise you is that I watch every game. But let's go ahead and start off with Thursday Night Football, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I went 10-5 this week in predictions. A crazy-ass week for predictions. A lot of analysts and stuff got like maybe 5 or 6 games right, maybe even 7 if they were lucky. It was just an extremely crazy week in the NFL, and yeah, let's go ahead and break it down right now. So for the Thursday night game, the Seattle Seahawks take care of business against their division rival Rams, 30-29, a very close game, a very entertaining Thursday night matchup. Unlike most of the year, I mean, the first week of the year with Green Bay and Chicago, I mean, that was a good matchup for different reasons, but neither offense was clicking. And the Philadelphia game with Green Bay was pretty good as well, despite my team not winning. But this was a very entertaining game, very fun game. Russell Wilson made an incredible throw to Tyler Lockett, where it looked like he was just trying to throw the ball away, and it gets caught, and Tyler Lockett drags his feet. That is one of the best plays I've ever seen out of Russell Wilson, and I feel like I say that every time Russell Wilson makes a crazy-ass play like that. I mean, who right now is playing better at the position than Russell Wilson? The answer is nobody, so let's just get that clear. I thought Jared Goff played well later in the game. The downfall of this team is they really weren't able to run the football effectively. They really haven't been able to run the ball as effectively, and a lot of that has to do with their offensive line. I mean, they did lose John Sullivan, who was their starting center, and they lost Roger Saffold, who is with Tennessee now. And then also, you got to keep in mind, even though Andrew Whitworth had a really good season last year at the age of 36, at the end of the day, he is a 37-year-old left tackle, and all of a sudden, the Rams are going to be looking to replace the left side of their entire offensive line here in the future. Jared Goff did play well late in the game or whatever, but a missed field goal, really unfortunate. You hate to see it. Seattle moves on as a 4-1 team in that division, and they're not even the best team in that division, but we'll get to that later. Starting off with the Sunday action, Jets at Eagles. The Eagles took care of business in this one, 31-6. I got this game right, so shout out to me. I mean, it was pretty easy. Arguably should have been lock of the week. But Philadelphia had 2 defensive touchdowns, a pick 6 by Nathan Gary, and a strip sack fumble recovery by Orlando Scandrick, where he basically took the ball out of Luke Falk's hands. Luke Falk not looking sharp, but a lot of people wouldn't really look that good in this situation. The Jets' offensive line is horrible, and outside of Le'Veon Bell, really not anyone else that you trust other than maybe Jamison Crowder, who just hasn't really played as well without Sam Darnold. So when Sam Darnold comes back, look for Jamison Crowder to really get more involved. He could be back next week potentially against Dallas, but we'll see how that goes. Not really much to talk about with the Jets. They're just not playing good football right now, not even on defense, and that's supposed to be like the bread and butter of the team, with Greg Williams implementing his scheme. But Carson Wentz really didn't have to play like an MVP in this game. He really didn't need to be sharp because they were going to win regardless. And Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders did their thing in the backfield, running the football, catching it, just making plays whenever the opportunity presented itself. So good shit from Philadelphia. Jaguars at Panthers. I got this game wrong. The Panthers actually won 34-27. It's really hard to get a read on either of these teams. They're both solid, but you know, they both entered this game 2-2. I didn't really know what to make of either team because, yeah, Gardner Minshew has been running wild on the NFL, but at the same time, I mean, whatchamacallit, Carolina with Kyle Allen, they've just been finding ways to win, but they had yet to win a home game. So I was just a little confused on how I should go with this game. I almost did go with Carolina, but I went with Jacksonville. It's official. No looking back on it now. Christian McCaffrey, a lot of people putting him in the MVP conversation, and to be honest, normally I would disagree. But I have to agree. I mean, there's nobody at the running back position playing better than he is right now. The only guy that has an argument, per se, is Dalvin Cook. But Christian McCaffrey is Carolina's offense, as far as I'm concerned. He has been Carolina's offense for at least 2 years now, arguably 3. Kyle Allen, it's a good thing that he has a guy like Christian McCaffrey, because, to be honest, I don't know if he wins his first 4 starts as an undrafted quarterback. I mean, maybe he wins 2 of them without him, or 1 of them, but, you know, having Christian McCaffrey will definitely help any quarterback, which is, you know, interesting, because Cam Newton's 0-2 as a starter this year. Yeah, blame the injuries if you want. He's not the only quarterback that's ever played hurt in life, so Kyle Allen's just been getting it done. The defense has really stepped up. Yes, they gave up 27 points, but there were certain spots in this game where they really came alive, especially Brian Burns, who, outside of maybe Nick Bosa, has been the best defensive player this year out of all the rookies. So that definitely deserves a lot of credit. Everybody shit on him for being, like, undersized or whatever at the edge spot or the defensive end spot, and he has responded by basically having a great season. So yeah, do with that as you may. For Jacksonville, DJ Chark had a great game. He's had a pretty killer season for the most part. He's been very good this year. And Gardner Minshew has been pretty good, but in this game he did have a few fumbles, took some bad sacks as well. Not the greatest game for Gardner Minshew. He's throwing the football pretty well. Like, I would say he's a little bit better than just game manager status. Like, he can make a couple of plays here and there. He's not like, you know, a quarterback with a high ceiling, but he is a good, you know, one of the better backups in football, outside of another guy that we're going to talk about later. But overall, good stuff from Jacksonville, you know, in defeat, and good job from Carolina on getting their first home victory out of 3 tries. Vikings at Giants right here. The Vikings end up winning 28-10. Pretty good game from them. They faced a lot of adversity, and they got an easy opponent and easy defense to take it out on. So good for them. Adam Thielen had himself a hell of a game. Stephon Diggs picked his spots here and there. Overall, wasn't too bad. Dalvin Cook was able to have himself a hell of a game. Kirk Cousins ate it up in play action. You know, it's like every time they went into play action, they were just killing it. So good job by Kirk Cousins. Again, not the greatest defense they went up against, but execution, you still got to execute, man. That's all that matters. Daniel Jones said that this was going to be his first real test as a starting quarterback. And what do you know? He faced a top 10 defense. He didn't look the greatest, but he did show capabilities of having the right amount of touch on some of those throws. He did miss a deep ball to Sterling Shepard, but that was more on Sterling Shepard. I mean, it hit him right in the hand. Like, come on, you got to reel that in. You got to reel it in. He had a great touchdown throw to Darius, what's his name? Is it Darius Slayton? A whole lot of Shepards and Dariuses. I mean, Green Bay has a player named Darius Shepard, so I'm trying not to mix up any of the names right there, but Darius Slayton had a touchdown catch over Xavier Rhodes. Rhodes has not been that great of a corner this year. I'm just going to keep it real. He's still a, you know, pretty good corner in this league, no doubt, but he just hasn't been that guy this year, and really last year either. But Minnesota's defense, pretty good against Daniel Jones. They were down to their 3rd running back, unfortunately, because Wayne Gallman got knocked the hell out of this game with a concussion. So, yeah, that sucks for him. I think the running back's name was John Hillman, who had to come in. I honestly never heard of him. But good win for Minnesota, taking care of business. That's what you got to do. And now you got a big game at home against Philadelphia next week. We'll see how you guys come out and respond for a team that hasn't lost at home like Minnesota. This next game is just kind of sad, kind of pathetic, really. 53-32. Houston taking care of business against Atlanta. Both teams really had a lot of garbage time points, but was it really garbage time points for Houston? I don't really know, man. I made a whole video about the Atlanta Falcons when they were 1-3. I said 10% of you should hold on. That number has now been reduced to 2% because that's about the chance that they have to even make the playoffs at this point. They have been terrible this year, and every week it's something different. You know, but the same constant thing has been the defense. I mean, Dan Quinn is supposed to be a defensive-minded genius, and he's only had one good defense his entire time in Atlanta. You know, he had a stretch in 2016, and he actually had a pretty consistently good defense in 2017. But outside of that, when has he really had a good defense? Seriously. I mean, he's got to be one of the most overrated defensive minds in football. You don't have a defensive rating in any category lower than 20th if you're a supposed defensive mind, defensive genius. And it's not like he's only been there for a cup of coffee. He's been there for like 5 years. And the run defense has always been an issue. The secondary really isn't playing that well, truth be told. I mean, they just haven't been that good defensively. Offensively, I mean, they were able to put points on the board this week. Matt Ryan had a fumble in the red zone and a pick six late in the game. I'm really not going to count that pick six. It just didn't matter at that point. But it still goes against the stat sheet. Ridley had a touchdown. Sanu had a touchdown. Freeman had a receiving touchdown. But Freeman was their lead rusher this game with 30 yards. I mean, they can't run the football. The offensive line is not good. The defense is not good. We've already talked about that, though. But Deshaun Watson, 500 scrimmage yards damn near, if not. 5 touchdowns. Will Fuller had 3 receiving touchdowns on 14 receptions. Carlos Hyde got a rushing touchdown as well. This offense just obliterated Atlanta's defense. And Houston's been a little bit underwhelming. I wouldn't necessarily say they've been inconsistent, even though I kind of called them inconsistent a few times. But they've been more underwhelming than inconsistent, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I mean, damn Atlanta, what the fuck is wrong with your team? I mean, the team that you're facing next week is Arizona. They had the number 1 overall pick in the draft. A lot of my Falcons friends, and even Falcons fans in general, made fun of the Green Bay Packers for losing to Arizona last year and firing their head coach. It would just be poetry in motion if Atlanta lost to Arizona and had to fire their head coach. So I'm kind of hoping that's what happens, to be honest. No offense, but I mean, you made fun of us for firing Mike McCarthy because we couldn't beat Arizona when, you know, basically we were trying to get him fired, but, you know, whatever. That's just me being petty. But in all honesty, if you don't beat Arizona, it's probably going to be time to reconsider coaching and getting off some contracts or whatever. I mean, you're going to have to blow the team up, most likely. I hate to say that, and maybe I'm over-exaggerating, but if you think I'm over-exaggerating, check any comment section talking about the Atlanta Falcons and tell me that those fans aren't over-exaggerating to some degree. Buccaneers at Saints. The Saints ended up winning 31-24. I got that game wrong. My dumbass went with Tampa Bay, even though deep down inside I was like, New Orleans is going to win. But New Orleans over the last 3 weeks without Drew Brees have just been finding ways to win football games. That has been incredible. And I can't believe that it's already been 3 weeks that Drew Brees has been out. I mean, the NFL season really flies by as we are entering the 6th week of the NFL season, which is just amazing to think about. But I mean, this is incredible. The Saints continue to find ways to win. Bridgewater had a great game. This was not game manager Teddy. He had 4 touchdowns, and he is the best backup quarterback in football. It's definitely safe to say that. Michael Thomas had himself a hell of a game. Kamara got going as well. And Ted Ginn and Jarrett Cook had a touchdown in this game. Each of them finally got a touchdown for it seems like the first time in forever. Jameis under a lot of duress this game, and you know, Mike Evans got shut down completely by Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, 3 targets, no catches. How? I mean, Chris Godwin's the best receiver on the team now, I guess, because he's the one getting all the work, all the receptions, all the touchdowns. O.J. Howard, does he still play for the team? I mean, I haven't heard from him in a while. So I just want to know if he's on the roster or not. I'm kind of confused, but I guess we'll get our answer soon, maybe. They're able to run the ball pretty well against New Orleans, despite what they were able to do to Ezekiel Elliott last week. They were able to run the football pretty well as a team. And really one thing that's being overlooked when it comes to the New Orleans Saints is their pass rush. They got 5 sacks on Tampa Bay. Marcus Davenport, man, credit to where credit's due. He has been eating for the New Orleans Saints. He was a part of that Green Bay Packers trade a couple years ago that got Green Bay Jair Alexander and Darnell Savage. So I think both teams won in that instance because They got themselves a pass rusher. Marcus Davenport looks great, and Jair Alexander and Darnell Savage has been pretty good for Green Bay so far in their early careers. So yeah, I think this is an instance where both teams won the trade. But let's move on to the next game. Bills at Titans. I foolishly picked the Titans thinking, oh yeah, Josh McCown, concussion protocol. Even if he plays, I think the Titans have more juice offensively. Yeah, whatever. Tennessee's offense completely disappeared. They played like absolute dog shit. It really wasn't all on the offense though. I mean, when your kicker misses 4 field goals, I mean, that's just going to hurt as well. They actually got rid of Cairo Santos, and now they're bringing in Mr. Double Doink himself, not Kairos, what's his fucking name? Cody Parkey. Yeah, that's his name. They're bringing in Cody Parkey, Mr. Double Doink himself, the icon, the legend that he is. And it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to the last time he ever kicked a field goal in the NFL. For Buffalo, I just love the way Buffalo plays defensively. They just shut down and lock up everything. I mean, you can run on Buffalo, kind of like what I said about Chicago not too long ago. You can throw on Chicago. You can run on Buffalo. You just can't really throw on them that well. And even Tom Brady couldn't throw on this team. You know, I think he had 153 passing yards last week when he played him. So there's no shame in not being able to get anything going in the passing game against Buffalo. Tre'Davious White is one of the best corners in football. I think it's definitely safe to say that. And the linebacking core, damn, they're pretty good. But we already knew that. Well, the real hardcore NFL fans already knew that. The casuals, they're coming along to it. But let's get on to the next game. I'm actually kind of excited to talk about it for some reason. Arizona getting their first win on the road against Cincinnati, 26-23. The story of this game, Kyler Murray and David Johnson. I mean, damn, they played well. And Kyler Murray only got sacked 1 time. I don't really think that's credit to the offensive line. I think that's credit to the play calling and getting the ball out quick, because Kyler Murray has had no time to operate, just like how Josh Rosen had no time to operate last year when he was the quarterback for Arizona. This offense is really fun to watch. They're exciting. They may not be able to execute in the red zone as effectively as you'd like. They may not be scoring a whole lot of points, you know, not as many points as you would think, but they're fun to watch. I mean, watching Kyler Murray go to work, and they're just letting him throw the football. They have full confidence in him to just let it rip. They're going to live or die by Kyler Murray, and that's how it should be. You know, if you believe in him, you don't relegate him to game manager. Let him go out there, have fun, sling it, because the more passes he throws, the more reps he gets, the more confidence he'll get if things go, you know, the way that you expect. And this was a game where he played very well. They even let him run the football, like actually let him run the football, not just scramble around for his life. He had 10 rushes for 93 yards and a rushing touchdown. David Johnson was pretty good as well. And I like the fact that in this receiving core, there's not really a number one guy. Like, yeah, Larry Fitzgerald's there. He's on his last leg, but he looks like he's having a lot of fun. Christian Kirk is pretty good, but he missed this game. But what I like about the offense is there's no number one guy. It's just, if you're open, you're getting the football. That's just kind of how it goes. If Kyler Murray likes what he sees, he's going to throw it to you. There's no favoritism. There's no number one receiver. It's a bunch of dudes. Hey, get open. I'll throw you the ball. You know, if this play is designed for you to get open, we're going to throw you the football and we're going to scheme you open. I like that. For Cincinnati, I hate to disrespect Andy Dalton again, because I feel like it's something I've done basically his whole career, is just disrespect him and call him soft and basically shit on how he plays. Truth be told, he's not a terrible quarterback. He's kind of average. You could argue a little below average at times, but man, he just doesn't do anything well. And to be honest, I've seen enough of Andy Dalton. Okay, I know the offensive line is terrible. I know the run game hasn't quite been there. I know that he has 2 receivers out, including John Ross, who is on IR. I know that his number 1 and number 2 receiver is Tyler Boyd and an undrafted practice squad Auden Tate. But listen, man, you're 0-5. And quite frankly, I've seen enough of you. Ryan Finley needs to get some action. I mean, I've seen enough of you. What are you going to do to elevate the team? You played the goddamn Arizona Cardinals at home. You played a winless team at home and you couldn't win. I mean, come on. Seriously? You couldn't make one more extra play to get a touchdown? And their defense is terrible. I mean, we knew that. Like, they have players on their defense. They have Carl Lawson, who's not, who's pretty good. They have Sam Hubbard, who's not bad. William Jackson's a pretty good corner. But it's like you wouldn't know that because the rest of the defense is not good. I mean, Geno Atkins is good as well, but the rest of that defense really is either regressing or they're just not that good. I mean, truth be told, like, they're just not. Let's see here. Patriots at Redskins, not really a whole lot to talk about other than New England is actually starting to run the football a little bit better this week. Sony Michel had a really good game. James White doing his normal thing out of the backfield as a receiver. Edelman had a pretty good game, obviously. I mean, I think he had 2 touchdowns. Yeah, pretty good if you ask me. Let's see here. The Redskins... Oh boy, they're 0-5. They fired their head coach. You hear all these reports about Jay Gruden didn't want the team to draft Haskins at 15 overall, Dwayne Haskins. And I don't know, they're just a poorly ran organization. I don't really have a whole lot to say about Washington. They don't use their running backs effectively. Their offensive line, even when they're not banged up, they're just not that good. Like a few years ago they played well, even when they were banged up, but it's like now they're not as good. They're just not that good of a unit, and it's unfortunate. The tight end play hasn't been good. The quarterback play hasn't been good. The only good unit they have is their defensive line, and they struggled week 1. Granted, they played Philadelphia's offensive line, but the Redskins are just a poorly ran organization, and I really hate it for Redskins fans because unlike Miami, you don't have a plan. At least Miami has a plan. At least they're tanking. At least they know what they're wanting to accomplish by being bad. You guys are just bad. Miami's supposed to be bad. You guys are just terrible. Like, I hate it for you. I really do. I don't think the fans deserve that, but it kind of is what it is. Ravens at Steelers. Not a good game for Lamar Jackson. You can look at the 3 interceptions and, look at the stat sheet and be like, oh, he's terrible. He's a running back. But let me go ahead and break down the interceptions because I like to do that here on my YouTube channel. So, Lamar had 1 legitimate interception, in my opinion, because he had a miscommunication with Willie Snead and he airmailed the ball that he shouldn't have airmailed. If we're gonna, criticize Matt Ryan for that, I think we have to criticize Lamar for that as well. 2 interceptions though hit his receivers in the hand, and it got tipped in the air, or the defensive back basically snatched it out of the hand of Nick Boyle, the tight end. Lamar Jackson had a couple of bad throws as well. That's going to happen, unfortunately. But my biggest gripe with him is he's taking unnecessary hits. He's taking hits that he doesn't need to take. And he's taking some bad sacks as well. And, Pittsburgh, they definitely got after him. Something I didn't mention as well, Philadelphia, 10 sacks on the Jets. I forgot to mention that. Figured I'd throw that in there. But Pittsburgh, Mason Rudolph's, he got knocked the fuck out, basically. And they brought in a 3rd-string quarterback, a guy that they promoted from the practice squad not too long ago. I forget his first name, but his last name is Hodges. And they promoted Paxton Lynch as well from the practice squad for this upcoming week in case he gets hurt. Hodges, that is. He didn't really look too bad. I just didn't know what to make of him because we didn't really see a whole lot of him. Like a quarter and a half of football really isn't going to tell me anything about this guy. Let's see. James Conner got himself a rushing touchdown. He's starting to look a little better. They're starting to run the football a little bit better. Juju had a touchdown. He also had a fumble in this game that kind of costed Pittsburgh to lose to Baltimore. And they kicked the field goal in overtime to win. So shout out to Baltimore. They got embarrassed against Cleveland, got humbled in a way as well, and they come out and they beat Pittsburgh, a division rival, a team that regardless of how good or bad they are, they're always going to play Baltimore tough. And I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want to have it any other way. Well, they'd probably like them to just be terrible and roll over. But that's how some of these intense rivalries work. It doesn't matter how bad you are, they're going to play you tough. Now we get to my upset of the week. I had Oakland beating Chicago, and what do you know? They did, 24-21. There's a saying in the NFL that if you put two teams on a neutral site field that the better team will always win, and that's just not true, is it? Oakland did the one thing that no one has been able to do in Chicago, and that's run the football. Not even Dalvin Cook got it going against Chicago. Josh Jacobs, though, boy, he looked very good. This was his best game as a rookie. Derek Carr was making some good throws as well throughout this game. I got to give credit to Derek Carr. I mean, John Gruden has done great with him, and Derek Carr has done a good job in executing. Simple as that. He's had a couple interceptions this year I haven't liked, but hey, I mean, he's looked good overall, like in a nutshell. But this defense is not particularly good. They gave up like 3 touchdowns in the third quarter, or in the second half, I should say, to Chase Daniel, who is this team's backup. But I got to give Oakland credit, man. They're 3-2. You can say what you want about the locker room and how noisy they've been as an organization, but they're winning games. Yes, their defense is terrible. Yes, they basically gambled on AB and wasted 2 draft picks, but hey, they just made a trade for Zay Jones last night as well, a random ass Week 5 trade, but Zay Jones, you know, hey, he was a second round pick. He was supposed to be like the future #1 receiver for the Buffalo Bills. It didn't quite work out that way, but you never know with John Gruden. Maybe he finds a way to make it work. I imagine he's going to be the wide receiver #2 for that team, and we'll see. We'll see how things go for him. For Chicago, this was supposed to be the Khalil Mack revenge game. I must have missed the memo because I didn't really hear or see much of Khalil Mack. I tried to tell people, you know, like, just because an ex-player is playing his former team for the first time, it doesn't mean that it's a revenge game. That's not how it works. I mean, sometimes it does, but it just doesn't always work out that way all the time. That's just not how football works, but use your imagination, I suppose. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into these late afternoon games. Denver beating the LA Chargers, and when I picked Denver to win, they won 20-13, by the way. When I picked them to win, I didn't even make it my upset of the week. You could have made an argument that I probably should have, but I didn't, because it's the most Denver thing in the world. They're 0-4. They lost Bradley Chubb. Oh my god, their season's a wash, and then they beat the Chargers. It's the most Denver Bronco thing ever. And plus, if I have, you know, a division rival that's not doing well, beating a division rival, then guess what? It's not an upset, because it can very well happen. An upset is an inferior opponent that is not a division rival that you're facing that you think is going to lose. Like Oakland, Chicago. Chicago is a way better team on paper than Oakland, but I picked Oakland to win. That's an upset. Denver facing the division rival LA Chargers, that's not an upset. That's just the most Denver Bronco thing in the world. That's all that is. They ran the football well. Cortland Sutton had a pretty good game. The Chargers, I mean, this was Melvin Gordon's preseason debut as far as I'm concerned. He didn't play against Miami. He got his feet wet here against Denver. Austin Eckler had a good game. Keenan Allen, 4 catches, 18 yards. I mean, Chris Harris Jr., the season he is having at corner, again, going under the radar. Everyone's talking about Stephon Gilmore, Jair Alexander, Marshawn Lattimore, Tre'Davious White, and somehow we let little old Chris Harris Jr. slip under the cracks again. When he is facing the #1 wide receiver on a team, he is not allowing a high completion percentage or passer rating. He's just doing his thing. It's business as usual for Chris Harris. And the pass rush hasn't been that great this year. He's just locking down your #1 receiver. That's all it is. That's all he's doing. That's all he's been doing for his career. Business as usual. Denver, congratulations on your first win. I forgot who you face next week, I'm going to be honest. It doesn't really matter to me either. But actually, I can look it up. It's actually right here in front of my face. Who does Denver play? Tennessee. I'll be picking Denver to win that game. For some reason, I don't know. I'll just pick them. Here we go. Packers at Cowboys. This is the game that I'm pretty sure everyone wants to hear my thoughts and opinions on, because I really haven't been trash talking Dallas. You know, normally I would, but I just haven't been for some reason. I don't know. I'm weird. But I'm going to be honest. Dallas fans are not going to want to hear this. But as far as I'm concerned, the game ended at 24-3. I mean, as soon as Green Bay started racking up stupid penalties that shouldn't have been penalties in the first place, that's when Dallas started to score. I mean, yeah, you can look at you can look at all the yards that Dak Prescott had. Yeah, a lot of those came in the second half. But I look at the scoreboard and I see Green Bay won by 10 points. So that's kind of all that matters. I don't really care about yards like that. It's all about the points around here. I don't care about yards. Yards are empty calorie stats. I mean, you need yards to score, but if you're getting yards and you're not scoring, what are you? What are you exactly? You're a poor executor. That's what you are. But we're going to talk about Dallas's offense first, I suppose. So they couldn't run the ball with Zeke. A lot of it wasn't because Green Bay wouldn't allow him to run it. He had a couple of chunk plays. But when you're down 17-0, it's going to be hard to run your way back into a football game. Green Bay did exactly what they needed to do. Run up the scoreboard early, do your job on defense, and by the time you rack up all those points, Dallas won't be able to run the ball effectively. They're going to have to throw it. That's exactly what they did. And Amari Cooper, second half of the game, played very well. First half a little shaky. He had a ball that hit his hands that arguably would have been a touchdown, but it hit his hands and Jair got an interception on it. So, yeah, that interception, not really too mad at Dak about, but he had 2 interceptions in this game where you're like, what the hell is he doing? What the hell is he doing? So we'll talk about the first or the second interception he had. I think he was looking for Randall Cobb, and he foolishly threw it. Didn't see the defensive back underneath in zone coverage, and Chandon Sullivan, who is Green Bay's 7th corner on the depth chart, picked off Dak Prescott. So yeah, that happened. Awesome. Good job, Chandon Sullivan. A lot of people did not have you making the roster in Green Bay. I did. So shout out to you, Chandon. And the third interception he threw, he just stared down Michael Gallup for like 4 seconds and was like, fuck it, I'm gonna throw it. And yes, you can argue that it was illegal contact, pass interference. I'm not mad at you. I'm not gonna say you're wrong. But the thing is, number one, they should have just called it if they really believed it. But I think they didn't call it because they didn't know who to call it on. Because you can make an argument that Michael Gallup was also responsible for that as well. And number two, Jason Garrett used all your challenges. So even when they didn't call it, guess what? Can't challenge it because you threw all your challenge flags. Dallas, it was a combination of Green Bay just coming in there and beating them, and Dallas kind of beat themselves as well. Their linebackers did not look good this game. All we ever hear about is Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith. But where were they this game? Did they play? Oh, yeah, they did, because Leighton Vander Esch looked stupid the entire game. Because Aaron Jones scored 4 touchdowns. Just when we thought Aaron Rodgers ran AT&T Stadium, Aaron Jones just got, full control, full custody of the stadium. Aaron Jones, man, what the hell? Had a great game. He was a Cowboys fan growing up. He played his college football in El Paso. And what do you know? Taking it out on Dallas once again. And by the way, this is not his first time doing that. He had a game in 2017, 19 rushes, 125 yards. In this game, he had 19 rushes, 7 catches, and he almost had 200 scrimmage yards. But the most important thing are the touchdowns. He outscored Dallas by himself, and Aaron Rodgers didn't have to be Superman. He didn't have to throw for 400 yards and have a late-game comeback. He threw for about, under 250, and he played sharp. It was just business as usual. He didn't need to throw the ball 45-plus times. He did his job. He did what he was supposed to do. Meanwhile, The other quarterback is down 17 points. He threw 4 interceptions. One of them got called back for some stupid penalty that I can't even remember. This was a poorly officiated game. Green Bay won. Dallas, the 2 teams that they lost to are a combined 8-2. The 3 teams that they beat are a combined 2-12 with a coach firing. So what am I supposed to make of Dallas? And by the way, they're playing the New York Jets next week, who are 0-4. Yeah, they're going to beat another bad team, and they're going to say this is their year, and then they're going to lose to Philadelphia the next week. That's basically how it's going to go. So, I didn't have Dallas making the playoffs. I had the Falcons instead. The Falcons they're weird. But Dallas, I looked at the schedule. When the schedule first came out, I looked at the schedule, and I said 9-7. 9-7. That's the first thing I said. 9-7. And then I saw that we had to play them in Dallas, and I was like, oh, yeah, we're winning. We're winning. And that's not me being cocky. I'm just telling you as it is. I've been wrong about a lot of stuff this year so far. The Falcons, the Titans. I'm pretty sure I've been wrong about a couple other things, but I've also been right about a lot. And that trend is going to continue here after this game because I was wrong about this game. I had Kansas City winning. What the heck? Indianapolis finally decided to show up. In the playoffs, they lost with Andrew Luck. In the regular season, they win with Jacoby Brissett in the same stadium. What the hell is this NFL season? Kansas City loses its first game. Really, the story of this game is time of possession and Indianapolis run offense. They had 45 rushing attempts for almost 200 yards, I'm pretty sure. Marlon Mack had himself a hell of a game. Honestly, I can make an argument Marlon Mack is the best running back in his division. Derrick Henry can get you some touchdowns, but he's not really a pass catcher. And Leonard Fournette, he's had his moments, not really that good overall. Marlon Mack, he plays behind a better offensive line, no doubt about it. So did Le'Veon Bell for years, and we called him the best running back in football. So what's really the excuse for not giving Marlon Mack his respect, exactly? I don't know. But Marlon Mack has been terrific. Jacoby Brissett got baited into a bad interception by one of my favorite players in the league, Tyrann Mathieu. So, good to see that, I guess, from my boy Tyrann Mathieu, but his team lost today, or Sunday, I should say. And Patrick Mahomes had an incredible touchdown pass in this game. He, ran around in a circle and just threw a touchdown. It's the most Patrick Mahomes play ever, because he did it last year in San Francisco. Or I don't know if it was in San Francisco or against San Francisco, but, he did it again. Kansas City, though, they only scored 13 points. They weren't able to run the football well, and, they started to not be able to convert on third downs. So, it really hurt them down the stretch, especially in the second half. Good game from Indianapolis, though. They entered the bye week defeating the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a good way to enter your bye week, having a huge victory. Then you can come back for week 7. Who do they play week 7? I actually want to check this out. Who do they play? They play a division rival, the Houston Texans. We'll see how they look for that game. It should be interesting. But congratulations to Indianapolis. And finally, I've been waiting to talk about this game for a little bit. Browns at 49ers, Monday Night Football. I foolishly picked Cleveland because I was like, you know what? They just beat Baltimore. I think this is the start of something, the start of some momentum. Because, momentum does carry over, believe it or not. Apparently with Cleveland, it doesn't. The 49ers coming off a bye week, I did expect them to be good, but I just thought, you know what? Cleveland's going to have something to prove. Nah, the undefeated team had something to prove. 31-3. They had more rushing yards as an offense as Cleveland did total offensive yards, which is just incredible. Baker Mayfield was god-awful this game. 2 interceptions. One of them really wasn't his fault. Antonio Callaway just You know, he didn't complete the catch, and he kind of hit it up in the air by mistake. And Kwan Williams, who has been released and re-signed and released and re-signed and released and re-signed by the team, just made a play. He made a play on it, and he got a really good return out of it. Matt Breida, first offensive play, 83-yard touchdown. Matt Breida was a beast in this game. Repping Georgia Southern. I like it, you know. Baker. 100 passing yards. The interception to Richard Sherman was just ridiculous. I don't care. Richard Sherman made a great play on that. I know he got hit as he threw it, but even if he just stood there clean, he shouldn't have made that throw. That's just my opinion. I felt like they tried to get Odell going too much. He didn't do much in the passing game. He also had like 1 or 2 drops in this game that really stood out, and I'm like, really? This is a top 5 receiver? He had 2 drops in a big game. Odell obviously is a top 5 receiver, but he really pissed me off this game. And really, I felt like Cleveland tried to do too much with him. They tried to get too cute. Like, I liked the play calling early. I thought they called a good game early. They couldn't execute. They turned the football over. Oh yeah, Baker had a fumble in this game. He may have had 1 or 2. I can't remember. Nick Bosa had himself a hell of a game. As I would expect against a weak Cleveland offensive line. And let me just take a second to talk about Cleveland. I sung their praises last week when they beat Baltimore. I criticized them when they lost to the LA Rams. I sung their praises when they beat the Jets because I said regardless of who you play, you gotta beat them. That's just what you gotta do. And then week 1, I said that they got humbled, by Tennessee. I don't think they got humbled because, in my opinion, they haven't learned a damn thing. Here we are, week 5. Okay, you're the lead dog in your division. Baltimore beat Pittsburgh. Okay? But you beat Baltimore. So if you win, you're still in first place in this division. Okay? Now, you are playing an undefeated team, but you're coming off a huge win in your division. And this is what you put out? 3 points? Really? Am I supposed to be impressed? And then also, the defense wasn't particularly great. Outside of Myles Garrett, defense wasn't good at all. They were terrible. A lot of penalties per usual. And I just want to go back to when I did my predictions, okay? All of my predictions haven't been money this year. They haven't. I've had a couple that have been bad so far. But let me tell you why I did not have Cleveland winning their division. Let me tell you why I never bought into the Super Bowl hype that Cleveland had. I want Cleveland to do well, okay? I've been wanting Cleveland to do well for years. This is not a personal thing, okay? But let me tell you why I did not have Cleveland in this conversation for a Super Bowl, for a playoff spot. Let me tell you. Number 1, rookie head coach. Number 2, your offensive line is going to regress. Number 3, when will these NFL teams learn that talent does not win games? Results matter. This is a results league. You can have all the talent you want. You can have all the big names and all the star power you want. Look at the Rams right now. The Rams are a great football team. They have all this talent, but their offensive line is a joke. Look at Cleveland. They have all this star power. They're flashy. They're Super Bowl champions in people's mind. They have a lot of hype. Their offensive line is terrible. It's just the thing right now. Yes, in retrospect, trading for Odell Beckham is huge. You gave up an offensive lineman and some draft picks, okay? But you didn't do anything to get your offensive line any better. That second-round pick that you drafted, Austin Corbett, isn't even starting on this sorry-ass offensive line. I mean, I just couldn't pick Cleveland to win. It's just too much hype. Their schedule is also grueling. They play Seattle next week. Granted, it's a home game, but they play Seattle next week, who is red hot and arguably have the MVP of the league. And then you're on a bye week. Then you're on a bye week. Then you play New England. In New England. A team that hasn't allowed a passing touchdown this year. Actually, in the last 10 games, I think, they haven't allowed a passing touchdown. Good luck, Baker. Good luck, Cleveland. I want you guys to be successful. But you guys were way overhyped entering the season. I get it. You went from 0-16 to 7-8-1. That doesn't mean you're a Super Bowl team all of a sudden. You're 2-3. Oakland has a better record than you today. Oakland has a better record than you today. You're 2-3. In primetime, you're 1-2. The only team you beat in primetime was the New York Jets with a third-string quarterback and 3 of their top 4 defensive players missing. That's your resume this year, Cleveland. You have 1 quality win on the season, as far as I'm concerned. You lost to the Rams in primetime because Baker threw an interception late in the game. Whether it was his fault or not, he shouldn't. I mean, if you're that dude... I mean, Aaron Rodgers threw an interception in primetime, but it hit the receiver in the chest. Baker made a bad read. Let's see. They got beat by Tennessee by 30, and they just got destroyed against San Francisco, who I think the league should look out for. They're hard to game plan for. Jimmy Garoppolo's healthy. And this is all without their starting left tackle, Joe Staley, who's out for at least the next 5 weeks. 5 or 6 weeks. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Week 5 was definitely a interesting week, to say the least. But hopefully you guys enjoy, and peace out.